Are you to live stream the meeting?
Live. Our first ever live Q&A.
Stand up. We're not live yet though.
Yeah, it is. We are, it says.
Oh, now we are.
Awesome. Hello everyone. Live. Our first ever live Q&A.
Stand up. We're not live yet though.
Yeah, it is.
There's a weird delay.
Oh, now we are. Awesome. Hello everyone. Live. Our first ever
what do we do?
Q&A.
I hit pause. Hi everyone. I think we're live. We're gonna hit record and make sure we're recording this on my computer as well. We might be live already. Hello everyone. It's Lora and Bella.
Hey guys, I think we are live already. I did hear like a little bit of echo in the background, so hopefully we've managed to fix that. But we're really excited to be answering all your questions that we got in through social media. And I know Laura's compiled them all, so I'm excited to see what we've got.
Woohoo! So in case you missed the memo, we were talking about all things healthy grocery shopping without breaking the bank, because, you know, we don't want the whole paycheck experience.
Yeah, and it's something we get a lot, you know, and as a nutritionist, I hear very often people want to eat healthy. Some people even know how to eat healthily, but they struggle in terms of the budget. They think it's way impossible. There's no way they can do it, but we're here to tell you that you can do it.
You can. So should we start with our first question, which was just what are our favorite places to shop so that we can maintain our healthy metabolic lifestyle and still be smart with our pocketbook?
I love it. Yeah, great question, and probably one that everyone's itching to know. So I would say in terms of a budget, and of course this definitely does differ as to where you live, but my personal probably two top favorites are Trader Joe's and also Lidl or Aldi. They're both very similar. I think you pronounce it Lidl in the US.
I've never heard of that one. We don't have that where I live.
Well, both of them are much more budget friendly. Trader Joe's and Lidl both have really great organic options. Lidl, especially in the meat department, has really great organic pasture-raised meat for far less of a price than most, you know, main grocery stores. I will also say that if you're someone that, you know, really doesn't have any of these options, maybe you live in a small town, and I've been there with the military moves. Sometimes you only have, you know, your one local grocery store, maybe it's a Walmart or whatever, that's your only option. No worries. One of my main tips is check that clearance section. You'd be so surprised. Lots of grocery stores, Kroger has a really great clearance section. Lots of them have a clearance section, natural grocers as well. And you can get some really good bargains. And so plan your meals around that. What about you, Laura?
Well, I lived in a small town once too. And one thing I also did was I went to the internet. So Thrive Market and Vitacost, which is owned by Kroger. So you can get like the Kroger's brand of organic stuff on there. And what am I missing? Misfits Market for organic produce, because you can now customize that. So before you couldn't, and you would just get like whatever weird stuff they wanted to send you. But now you can actually pick. So if you're on like one of our plans, like the Metabolic Factor, that's very low carb, you could just choose not to include the foods that you are currently restricting and that aren't on your day-to-day basis, or if you have allergies or whatever.
I love it.
Yeah. And Trader Joe's, I love Trader Joe's.
I don't know why I completely forgot about the online, because I use the online a lot, especially this past year. I've been using online all the time. So that's really great. And I do want to just give a little bit of a shout out to local farmers. Now, of course, this depends. And, you know, sometimes people say, oh, but it's so expensive. I promise you, if you actually go and build a relationship with your farmer, you'd be really surprised how you can actually work with the farmer to support them and get really high quality foods that do fit within your budget. So definitely, I would recommend just Googling local farms near me and just reach out to them and build a relationship. It's definitely worth it.
Yes, and then you could cook new foods that you've never, you know, had to use before if they're in your CSA box, which is a lot of fun.
Okay. Love it.
All right, well, should I go to question number 2?
Yeah, and just a note, guys, if you have any kind of further follow-up questions from anything that we're talking about, please just pop it in the comments or on social media, and we'll answer any further questions that you have.
Perfect. So we were asked, this is a fun one, like what are our favorite brands for things like non-dairy cheeses and nut butters and coconut milk and things that we like, that so when people are buying things, they know that they're choosing the right option and not spending, you know, because some things cost more than others. And like, is it worth it? They don't want to spend the money the first time. that
That's
kind of stuff.
such a good point, because a lot of these, non-dairy alternatives and things like that are a little bit more expensive. But, if you are dairy free, they can be worth it. But you're right, some of them taste horrible. Some of them are full of all sorts of junk. But there are a few brands, in my opinion, that are really worth it. And I know Laura and I actually share some favorites, so I'm sure they'll both pop up. But I would say, what was the first one? Nut milks. Did you say?
Nut milks too, yes. Coconut milk, nut milk.
Nut milk. So yeah, for all nut milks, I really love the New Barn, which is a great brand. Now they are a little bit more expensive, but they're awesome because they're organic and they have no other weird junk. But I will also say that it may be cheaper for you to actually get a nut milk bag and make your own really, really simply. You can buy nuts in bulk, you can get organic ones, and then just very, very easily make your own milk. So that could be an option for you to.
And New Barn is online too. So if you don't have a store that has it, I know for a fact you can actually have it shipped to you, and then you could buy it in bulk, which is cheaper.
I love it. Okay, what else was there? Why don't you do
butter.
Why don't
cheeses? Oh, can we do cheeses? So I have a slight obsession with non-dairy cheeses. My son actually has anaphylaxis to dairy, so like we can't have those. So I've tried all of them, and some of them taste like chalk. Would you say? Like they really do. And some are so good. And I'm obsessed with Miyoko's vegan cheese. And it's they have cashew milk based ones, and they also have, like, if you had a nut intolerance, they now have oat milk based ones, which would be then higher in carbs but are really good if that's not an issue for you, and you need a nut free version. They're delicious. They are from San Francisco. You can get them like online, as well as you can get them from me. You have it at Trader Joe's. I have it at Earth Fare. You can get them now in Publix and all sorts of places. And like they even have like fun information online, like what you want, if you wanted to like pair it with your cheese. They've done like wine and cheese, and not wine, pair it with your cheese, pair it with your wine. They've done like wine and cheese little happy hour tutorials and all sorts of fun little things. And I love them.
They truly are amazing. I will second them. They're definitely my favorite brand. Just from a nutrition perspective, they really are the best junk-free brand out there. They have really clean ingredients and they are absolutely delicious as well. So I highly recommend. I think nut butters. Did you say nut butters?
Nut butters.
Well, I really love a brand called Blue Mountain Organics. Now, I think you can only get them online, but what's so great about them is they are sprouted and organic, which is really, really nice. A lot easier on the digestive system. And I think with, so many people going grain free, we do eat a lot of nuts. We really do. So sometimes the sprouted variety are just a little bit easier when we're consuming a lot to digest. So I really love them. But honestly, I will say, especially if we're focusing on budget, most grocery stores now have their own brand of organic almond butter, even cashew butter. For people who do peanut butter, I know peanuts are a legume, so but a lot of them, have really cheap alternatives. And I just think, honestly, go for the cheapest one, but just make sure you check the ingredients. You really just want the nuts and maybe some sea salt, maybe nothing. But the smaller the list, the better. No weird oils in there. What do you think, Laura?
Yeah, I mean, I like Trader Joe's for that. I think even once they had a special like sprouted nut butter at Trader Joe's, but I don't think they still have it. Wah, wah. But yes, I go with the same thing. Just read the labels, because I know like I accidentally recently bought almond butter at Aldi's, and I didn't read the label because I was in a hurry, and you know what? It had like all sorts of like added sugars and things, and it didn't taste as good, and it was a womp womp again. It was a sad moment. It was my fault. I didn't read the label.
Really easy, and that's the thing. I just think label checking for any product is a really great tip, and really important to do, because you never know what they're going to sneak in there.
And that's another thing, when you buy online or you do a grocery store pickup, you can spend the time looking at the labels before you check out, and you can even price compare without having to be in the store. So I really like that as well.
You've got to love online shopping, don't you?
Woohoo! Okay, did you have a favorite coconut milk? We missed that one. Canned? I like the canned.
Oh, a canned coconut milk. So I did actually find, because I know a lot of people are actually funny about cans. I'll have to post the link to be entirely sure. However, there is actually a boxed coconut milk that you can get off Amazon, and it's organic, which is great. I'll have to look it up and post the link, because I know the packaging, but I don't know the name of it. However, again, if you have a Trader Joe's near you, they have some really lovely organic canned coconut milk. They have the full fat, the low fat, and even the coconut cream, which is really great for baking. It's very, very affordable, and it's just the good stuff. Just organic coconut, I think, is the only ingredient. So
That's what I have right now in my pantry.
love
All right.
it.
So we'll go on. So this is a good question, because this guy's aligned with some of these other ones, like our favorite places to shop. But some of you we recognize don't live here, because we're global, and so you don't have easy access to things like berries. I was asked, like, what do you can't? One person said she couldn't even get broccoli where she lives because she's in like a tropical place. So what should you do in that case? I think this is really a better question for you, Bella, since you are you've lived. Yeah.
Well, I will say, I think it's really important, regardless, just to find, again, what's local to you. If you live in a tropical place and you don't have broccoli, you might have the most gorgeous exotic fruits, different vegetables that you can get really creative with. So I think it's about finding what you have access to, again, partnering with a local farm or a group. I know Lora does group veggie boxes coming to her. So really just finding what you have locally, and then just subbing those ingredients, having some fun with recipe development, taking recipes, maybe switching the broccoli out for cauliflower or whatever you do have on hand. Just adapt it, because seasonal and local eating is actually really, really great for you and great for the environment too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that's the important thing too. Like when you are shopping, think about the environment as well. So thank you for bringing that up. So we have a few more specific questions you've asked about some products that can be cheap ones or expensive ones. And you guys, actually, a whole bunch of different people submitted these questions over and over again. So obviously this is a big heavy hitter. And so Bella, I'm going to count on you for some of this. So for example, like we were asked, why, so it's cheaper, so why not buy like vegetable oil, like and soybean oil, and use that for cooking?
Yeah, and I mean, it is true. Soybean vegetable oils are far cheaper. I know you can go to Costco and get absolute gigantic tubs of soybean oil. I've seen it. But what you do need to know about those oils, things like canola oil, grapeseed oil, soybean oil, all of the common ones that you see, they're actually really highly processed and they're really highly refined. And that can lead to things like inflammation. Another really key thing, and if you're in our Metabolic Mastery Club, you've heard me talk about this all the time, but those oils especially should never, ever be heated. They're very easily oxidized, which means that basically when you heat them up and you cook them, they break down, and this leads to increased things called free radicals. I don't know if you've heard them or not, might be a little bit nerdy and boring, but basically they cause inflammation and oxidative stress in the body and can lead to things like disease. So you do want to avoid them. Another little tip, so I could go on and on, but another thing, one more thing I do want to mention is that you may have heard of this balance that you really want to achieve between omega-3s and omega-6s. Now, all of these vegetable oils are going to be very high in omega-6s, and there's nothing wrong with omega-6s. However, as a society, we over consume. So our ratio is like this, with the omega-6s up here. So really, by doing a simple switch and going for something like, I really personally love extra virgin olive oil, is delicious. And then for cooking, I do things like avocado oil and coconut oil. It just helps that balance a little bit. And these are oils that can be heated safely, especially avocado and coconut, without that oxidization and potential leading to disease.
That was an excellent answer. For those of you who know Dr. Johnny from the Metabolic Mastery Club, I know that like he has like a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil like every day, just because he loves it so much and it's so good for you.
It's delicious too, especially all over a salad. And people ask me all the time about salad dressings, but honestly, one of the simplest and most delicious salad dressings is honestly just drizzling olive oil over the top and then the flaky sea salt. Absolutely delicious.
I did the Malden sea salt, the really
that with the olive oil is amazing.
I love it. And this is actually a really good segue, because the next question was about, which was also a common one, about coconut oil. Because when you are going to buy coconut oil, for those of you who have not tried, you should, but you'll notice there's a lot of options now. You have like organic coconut oil, you have refined coconut oil, you have unrefined coconut oil, and then you just, like there's, which is the right one?
Yeah, for sure. And you're spot on, Laura. Coconut oil is so popular, and therefore there are a million different coconut oils out there. It can be very overwhelming. especially if you are on a budget. I think that's another big point. I think ideally, in my opinion, the absolute healthiest coconut oil you can buy is going to be organic and unrefined. That's the dream, in my opinion, primarily because it just hasn't been messed with. You know, refined basically means that it's been chemically altered in some way. So some of the nutrients are going to be destroyed and the living enzymes are going to be destroyed. But the unrefined is just freshly extracted from coconuts and it's not messed with at all. So that's the one I recommend. What about you, Laura?
I too use organic unrefined, but I will confess that when I am baking and I need to use coconut oil, I use refined because it doesn't have that like coconutty taste. And I don't want, like, when I'm making a cookie for my 4-year-old, the cookie to taste like coconut, because then he wouldn't eat it.
That is a very, very good point. The refined coconut oil will not taste coconutty. And I know so many people do have that slight aversion to the coconutty taste, especially if you're also using coconut flour and everything. It can get a little bit much. So that is something to note. Absolutely.
Now, this question is actually a really interesting one. It's probably, I think, more for someone who isn't necessarily on one of our programs, but trying to eat, grain-free, etc. Because when you're baking, especially, this is why Bella is the one to answer this. We use a lot of different things to like make things, I guess it's the right, to bind together. So The question was about, like, basically she said there was 3 tiers of things, and she was wondering why you had to use which one. Arrowroot starch, which we call for in a lot of ours. Potato starch, which she was like, well, this is less expensive than that one, so can I use it? And then she's like, but I also, cornstarch is super cheap, so why can't I just use that? So maybe you can explain how they work, because I know you can't just like sub them all in her, but also they're not probably good for you.
No, yeah. And so I think that's my main thing. I mean, depending on what you're making, baking's a funny one. They're not all interchangeable. And I do often get asked on our YouTube videos and all sorts of the recipes that I do. People say, can I sub cornstarch for arrowroot? And in many cases in baking, it's a no, they're not one-to-one. Things like thickening gravies and soups and that kind of thing, from a cooking perspective, a lot of them do that job. They just thicken the soup and it's fine. However, I will say, and Laura did touch on it, if you are following our programs, you'll know this, but corn is a grain starch, and some of our programs like Metabolic Factor doesn't actually recommend consuming grains, especially during those first 22 days. So that is something to be aware of. I know sometimes when you're just putting a little teaspoon, you think, oh, whatever, but it is a grain. And a lot of people have intolerances or allergies to corn as well. So that's also something, to keep in mind. And similar to potatoes are a starchier vegetable, so they aren't necessarily, recommended during those first 22 days of our program. But as always, I'll just say, listen to your body and do what works for you. I will say, if you are going to go for a cornstarch and say, for your budget, that is the only thing that works, absolutely fine, completely understand, as long as it, it doesn't make you feel icky. Thrive Market has a really great organic cornstarch with no other weird fillers or binders. So definitely check out theirs if you're looking for a better for you cornstarch.
That's and as always, like we like to joke, just listen to your body and keep your schmeck in check, which if you know programs, you'll know what that means. And if you haven't done one, maybe you should check it out so you know what on earth we're talking about. But listen to your body and see how it feels for you, because we aren't you and we don't know.
No, and I honestly, that is my biggest thing with nutrition always. Do what works for you. We are all completely different. Laura and I different, her son different. We're all different, we're all completely different people. And so there is no one way, one size fits all in nutrition is absolute nonsense. It's never going to happen. So find what works for you and what makes you feel great and energized and fabulous.
And we have one really funny question that we'll end on that just came through on YouTube, which was, do we like cookies?
Yes, we love them.
We love the cookies. And in fact, we can pop in the comments the chocolate chip. Do we have those on the blog, right?
Yeah. We have the keto chocolate chip cookies on YouTube actually, and on the blog. So definitely go check them out. They're the really good ones.
But we do love cookies. So thank you for asking. And that's a great note to end on. It really had nothing to do with any of this, but I think we were just going to say goodbye now, but we'll do this again if you enjoyed it. And
let us know in the comments what you guys thought of this, if you found it helpful. If you have any further comments, we'd love to answer them. And if you'd like Laura and I to do something like this again, and if you have any topic ideas for us, it's been really fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you all. Have a great day, and be sure to follow. What am I supposed to say at the end? You're supposed to like subscribe and
Subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and pop on over to social media. Follow us at Metabolic Living.
exactly what